The day my stepfather walked in on me, a true tale of betrayal and infidelity. Hi, my name is Emily, and I'm 17 years old. It was a sultry summer afternoon when everything I knew began to unravel. In the past few months, my life had transformed dramatically. My mother's remarriage had changed the dynamics of our household, and it was in the confusion of adjustments that I found myself in a dark entanglement of secrets and lies. My stepfather, Mark, was an imposing man. He was charismatic and charming, a stark contrast to the shadow my biological father had left in our lives. Mark had stepped into our lives with an air of confidence, providing stability where chaos once reigned. For my mother, he was the cure to years of loneliness. For me, he was just a man who had taken the place of someone I missed deeply. It all started innocently enough. In the beginning, I just wanted to connect with him so that our household could feel like home once again. He'd often help me with school projects, and occasionally, I'd catch him stealing glances at me when he thought I wasn't looking. At first, I thought nothing of it, a friendly stepfather looking out for his new stepdaughter. But then came the feelings. It all shifted one evening when he offered to help me with a particularly tough math problem. I was overwhelmed and frustrated, and in the middle of our study session, he brushed a strand of hair from my face, our eyes locking for a moment that felt electric. Suddenly, the air felt thick with something unnameable. I dismissed it entirely, telling myself it was a figment of my imagination. Despite my efforts, I could feel the boundary between us beginning to blur. Days turned into weeks, and the flirtation escalated. Encouraged by his attention and my own confusion, I found myself reciprocating his advances. The thrill of this secret added an intoxicating layer to our interactions that I couldn't resist, and before long, we were entangled in something I knew was forbidden. We began stealing moments when my mother wasn't around. Sneaking kisses in the kitchen when he thought no one could see, lingering touches that sent shivers down my spine. Each encounter filled me with a mix of euphoria and anxiety, as the knowledge of our deception hung over us like a dark cloud. This life, however disjointed, felt more vibrant and alive than anything I had experienced before. Yet, in the back of my mind, I knew this was wrong. I was betraying my mother in the most unimaginable way, a woman who had fought so hard to give me a stable life. Every night, I would cry silently into my pillow, torn between the thrill of my hidden affair and the guilt that consumed me. Then came that fateful day. I was in the living room, the sounds of laughter and music echoing softly in the background. My mother had gone to run errands, leaving Mark and me alone for a few sweet hours. We had slipped into a world of our own, entangled in one another, when the door creaked open. Time seemed to stand still as I turned around, the color draining from my face. My heart raced as I met Mark's eyes, filled with surprise, guilt, and something else I couldn't quite decipher. The air was thick with tension, the reality of our actions crashing down on us like a tidal wave. What followed was a chaotic flurry of emotions. My stepfather stepped back, shock etched into his features. I could see the wheels turning in his mind as he processed the reality of the situation. I felt naked, exposed, stripped of the layers of protection I had built around my affair. In that moment, all the thrill drained away, leaving me with raw fear and shame. "Mom's going to be home soon," I stammered, scrambling to find my composure. "We shouldn't have," he began, but the words hung heavy in the air, unanswered and unacknowledged. He left the room, leaving me in a whirlwind of panic. My heart raced with the fear of discovery, and I knew that everything had changed in an instant. When my mother returned, nothing felt the same. The tension in the air was palpable, and I was a prisoner of my own guilt and fear. Days turned into weeks, and the unsaid words between Mark and me loomed larger than our brief moments of euphoria. Our scenes of passion morphed into silent stares, each of us aware of the fracture that had formed in our family dynamic. It was no longer just an affair. It had become a dangerous game of cat and mouse. Eventually, my mother sensed the shift in the atmosphere. The cracks in our facade began to show, leading to a confrontation that could no longer be avoided. I sat at the kitchen table, my hands cold and clammy, as she accused Mark of something I could not deny. The truth spilled out in fragmented whispers, betrayal piercing through the fabric of our family like a sharp knife. The fallout was catastrophic. My mother's heart shattered, and I became the source of her profound disappointment. Mark, once an ally, became a distant figure, and I was left grappling with the weight of my actions. The consequences of our illicit affair had taken more than just a moment of passion. It had dismantled the trust and love that once filled our home. In the end, betrayal came at an inexplicable price. Our lives were left in ruins, and the glimmers of excitement had turned into shadows of regret. As I sat alone in the wreckage of my choices, I realized the harsh truth. Some desires should remain unfulfilled, and some lines should never be crossed.